Right.
Can't believe it's that time of year already. Third one for municipal. Let's give Steve White
Well, that wouldn't be so bad.
Here he comes. No. I'm not seeing him. I think we should start. Said I'm not seeing him. I think we should start. You said it's rolling? All right, it is 7:01. If we could call this city council meeting to order, if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We got a good crowd here tonight. I'm happy to see it. Doing roll call, all voting members are present. Lundeen must be in the bathroom or something at the moment, but I'm sure he'll be back momentarily. We will have some public comment tonight. If there's anybody that would like to come forward and speak in the public comment section, you're more than welcome to do so right now. Just state your name and address for the record. And we will allow public comment during the discussion items if it comes about too. Hearing no public comment tonight, we will move on to adopting the agenda. Are there any changes?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We do not have any changes, but I do want to point out that we did modify the agenda by rearranging the business items. So depending on when people viewed the packet, there has been a rearrangement of the business items.
Okay. Any questions or problems with the agenda? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve from Councilmember Lundin, second from Councilmember Heeman to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Tonight, we have a couple of proclamations and actually a presentation from the Isani Ambassador candidates. You guys are more than welcome to come on forward and give your little presentation or whatever you want to do. Either way, you choose.
Hello, everyone. My name is Morgan Zidane. I am an Isani Miss Ambassador, and I am here alongside Emily Haugen and Grace Peters, my other Miss Ambassadors.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paige Boostrom. I'm an Isani Junior Ambassador, and tonight I have with me Avery Blaser.
And we'd like to also introduce our candidates that will be running for a Miss or Junior Ambassador position in July. July 13th is our coronation, if you would like to attend.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for coming in. The ambassador program is near and dear to my heart. My sister was an ambassador in 2011 for the city of Isani. I think the ambassadors do a lot of great things for the community, as well as gives them some real life experience and some professional situations. So thank you, everybody, for applying for that program. It's a great opportunity for you, and thank you for being here and part of our community. So F2, we will be recognizing Fred Trosvik for 25 years of service as an Isani Police Reserve. He's done that very well, and I heard that he was one of the first reserves in the city of Isani, and that's fantastic, and we have a lot of gratitude for those that volunteer to be a part of our police department and those that put their lives on the line for our community. So Fred, if you would like to come up, and we can take some photos with you, and then I don't know if afterwards, if you want to get a family photo, I see you have a lot of family with you, so.
just let them take it?
You guys want to get a family photo? Come on up. Thank you, Fred and family. I know you guys have made some sacrifices for him to be here with us, and he spent a lot of time with our police department, so we appreciate that. Next, we'll move on to G1, approval of this.
You're supposed to introduce the candidates.
Yeah, you want to introduce some new candidates, I think.
Yep.
Do you guys want to be introduced as new candidates or make any speeches or anything like that this year as part of your presentation? Okay. Come on up and get some practice. Why not? Just grab, sure.
Okay. Hi, my name is Novaline Hand, and I am sponsored by Northern Chicks.
Hi, my name's Addie Erickson, and I'm sponsored by Village Hair. Hi, my name's Ariana Pitts, and I'm sponsored by JoJo's Studio and Photos.
Hi, my name is Lila Yergin, and I'm sponsored by NE All Stars Cheer and Tumbling. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm sponsored by Cornerstone Pub and Prime.
Hi, I'm Alina Miner, and I'm sponsored by the UPS store in Cambridge. Hello, everybody. My name is Addison Pitts, and I'm sponsored by CNU Floral Inc.
Awesome. Thank you guys again for, yeah, come on up and take a picture.
We'll just stand back here.
Brad, live it here. Come on, guys.
Come on in.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here.
Of course.
Yes, thanks for
Every
coming.
year we
I
look
can't
forward
believe
to
it.
it.
It's this time of year already.
All right. So now we'll move on to G1, approval of city council meeting minutes from June 3rd, 2025. Did anybody see any mistakes or have any changes to those?
Second.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Lundin, second by Councilmember Peterson to approve of the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. The meeting minutes are passed. Announcements. City offices will be closed Thursday, June 19th, 2025, in observance of Juneteenth. Parks and Recreation Board meeting Tuesday, June 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m. City Council meeting Tuesday, July 1st, 2025 at 7 p.m. Economic Development Authority Tuesday, July 1st, 2025, immediately following the 7 o'clock City Council meeting. Are there any council committee reports tonight?
Had a closed meeting with the fire district. That's all I can say.
Able to say who attended or anything that was discussed at all?
What?
You can't say who attended or what was discussed at all?
No.
Nope.
It's a closed meeting.
Jeff, anything from BMX?
They rescheduled last week's meeting to tomorrow, so I'll have more next meeting.
Okay. I don't have any tonight. I am looking forward to the LMC meetings. Those will be starting in July, and those are really fun. You can, be a leader for your community and try and create positive, influential change for your community through the state. Jeff is the other representative this year, and I think it's going to be fun. Otherwise, I have nothing else. All right, so we will move on to business item K1, resolution to consider awarding the bid for the Heritage Boulevard Intersection Improvements Project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So, after our, year-plus long process, getting approved for our grants and getting easements, we have finally received our bids, and they were fantastic. We got 6 bids, and all of them were below the engineer's estimate. We also bid it with just the schedule of getting it completed yet this year, without the option the next year. And so, to keep it simple, we recommend awarding to Aztec, Asphalt Surface Technologies Corporation, for their bid in the amount of $1,103,947.75. I guess as a comparison, the engineer's estimate was $1.5 million. And I guess with our cost-sharing agreement that we have with the county, the 1/3 of the remaining non-construction costs that aren't grant eligible, essentially bring our total that we'd anticipate having the city spending to about $170,000, and we originally had budgeted for $500,000. And so just all great numbers all around. And with the goal of getting this built this year. So I guess if you have any questions, otherwise it's a strong recommendation of award.
I would just like to say thank you, Jason, and all of our team up here for working hard to try and get the most competitive bids possible. We're seeing that pay dividends this year with our construction projects, so I just want to thank everybody that's involved in that and saving taxpayer money.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Lundin, second by Councilmember Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That is awesome. Hopefully that works out perfect, so. K2, resolution to consider approving the cannabis products registration for Northern Crown LLC.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we have received an application from Northern Crown LLC for cannabis product registration, and they have received their written pre-approval from the OCM, which is a requirement. This would be for a small dispensary at the location of 108 Main Street East, Suite 400 here in the city limits. This has been reviewed for zoning regulations as well as been sent over to our police chief for review, and the city has our city staff is recommending approval based upon our rules and regulations that we have, and to send notification to the applicant. They are here, right?
All right, so I would just like to say, I'm not sure if you guys caught it in the admin updates, but the state changed the LGCA language to increase the tax on cannabis businesses from 10% to 15%, as well as the biggest impact to us, removed any of those taxes from going to local municipalities. So the city will not receive a cent of tax money from these. Now, we were originally promised, or not promised, but sold on the idea of a 10% tax benefit going to the city. Well, now there's none. So local or state legislation changed that on us. And from the beginning, I think they've really botched this process, and I don't know how we handle this. It was a bad legislation from the start, and I think there's a lot of people in the community that are for it and against it, and I don't know what we do as a governing board here. But that's just my input on it.
Part of the decision in the initial discussion about this whole thing, that played a little bit of a factor. There's no doubt about it. And for that to happen in the middle of all this is really disappointing, but the state has just been horrible at rolling this whole thing out.
It's unfortunate because now our police department, our city staff have to face the brunt of doing these things, and there's no positive impact or even payback for taxpayers' dollars that goes into it. And you can't blame the applicant, you can't blame anybody but the state. And, we had talked about this, and that was one of the main reasons I thought, if the city could do a municipal, that would be a very positive thing for us. It would have hedged our risk on this, and now the risk has just been realized for the city, and we're on the wrong end of the deal.
Right, now we're 100% instead of being able to use that cushion to be able to regulate and oversee the businesses coming into town. I mean, if we would have known that from the get-go, we probably would have wrote ordinance completely different, in my opinion, or it would have been put into the thought process of when we did it, but I don't think there's probably no turning back at this point. Just another thing the state's messed us over with. I mean, they're the ones who really should be looking at the local municipalities and helping them out the most instead of taking funding away like they seem to do all the time. And we're much better at using the state's money than the state is themselves, that's for sure. I mean, much more responsible with the money on a local level than on a state level.
Any other input, questions, concerns?
Do we have any
Anything to do
criteria
about
to approve or deny it, or is it just procedural that we have to, or what?
That was,
Mayor and Council, because this is meeting all of our guidelines within our city code for the rules and regulations that we set, it is recommendation to approve.
Right.
It's procedural for us to approve it because they are meeting every rule and regulation that we have in place at this time.
It's a micro brewery type license. Now, what all does this license include? What are all the different things they can do within this building space? It looks like, the way I'm interpreting it, everything.
And I will let the applicant go up and do
Yeah.
some speaking on this so they can share more in depth because I don't want to generalize what they plan to do. So we'll hear from them. Thank you.
if you could just state your name and address for the record, and thank you again for coming in, and
Yes.
I hope this is.
The store address?
What's that?
Should I do the store address?
Probably your own address, if you could.
Hello, my name is Matthew Van Heel. I am
If
the
you guys
owner-
could go stand behind the podium, please, over there. Sorry.
This
The ambassador thing was a little different than usual, so.
I'm the owner and founder of Northern Crown, and I guess I'm here to answer any questions you may have or any concerns. My address is 26640 10th Street West, Zimmerman.
What is your plans for the building? What exactly are you thinking?
So I know that it says that we can pretty much do everything growing and
Right.
the edibles, the manufacturing and all of that, but the store that I have isn't going to be big enough to be growing or anything, so we wouldn't be growing in the store. So if anything, everything that we would be selling would be coming already packaged from farmers and other places, so there shouldn't be any concern about smell or anything like that.
So you're thinking just a small dispensary?
Yep, just a small dispensary that's gonna be selling already packaged products.
Have you looked into or talked to any potential license holders from the area? I know a big focus for me was to keep it local, and I believe there are some in the Isani, like with the Isani address even, that are applying for like a growery type permit. Have you talked to anybody local or considered, would that be something that you would preference or?
Yep, that's definitely something we would consider, because
Okay.
as of right now, it's still kind of a guessing game on how everything's gonna be acquired and stuff like that, as far as the inventory. But I do have one other person I know that's a family friend that is also going for a grow in Zimmerman,
Okay.
the city that I'm from. But from the sounds of it, there's gonna be a lot of demand, so definitely looking to cooperate with other growers, local growers and stuff. I want to keep everything local, so.
Okay, and I did look into the history of your LLC. What is the address off of Long Lake there? Is that where you guys are based out of, or?
Yep, that was my address, but I
Okay.
actually just moved about a month yeah, last month.
Okay.
So May 1st, we just moved back to Zimmerman, so.
I was excited to see someone local, because that was one of our fears. You know, we have what if a big conglomerate from California comes and sets up shop, and then all that money is leaving the community, so I was happy to see that.
I'm still pretty local though,
Right,
Zimmerman's a
yep.
20-minute drive. We did live in Isani for a while, but we ended up, me and my girlfriend just bought our first house because we're having our second kid, so we decided time to buy a house, so only place we could find one was back in Zimmerman.
Okay.
So we're back there now.
And just to kind of give you a heads up, my name is Corey Prescott. I'm from Malacca, and I happen to be Matt's mom. So it is a completely family joint adventure here between us, and it is going to be basically as local to Isani as we can get for growers. We're just networking with other people now. It's been like you've stated, a very confusing and hard time dealing with the state, and so now everybody is just getting an idea of what they can do, and we're just starting to talk, and we are completely open to talk to anybody that's local here in Isani for cultivation and growth.
Okay. Were you guys aware of the increase from 10% tax to 15?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that-
Unfortunately.
I talked to a few others, and they had no idea, so that's a concerning thing as well.
How many locations are you permitted for?
Just one. Yep,
So
just the
you-
one on Main Street.
And is your license good for other operations?
I think we can just have the one so far.
Basically,
It's kind of a
for-
confusing deal.
Yeah, for a micro business, you can have, let me bring that up here real quick. We could have other stores, we don't intend to. The only thing that we would do if business became bigger than expected, we would relocate here in Isanti to a bigger area, but
Sure.
we don't foresee that.
Because the way I interpreted some of those licenses, I'm not really well versed on how it works, but each license was good up to five different things. So like retail here, grow here, microbrewery here. I'm not sure, but
No,
that's
that's a meso
almost the way
business.
it
Yeah.
looked
That's the
like to
meso,
me.
I think.
Yeah,
We're
the
doing
meso
micro.
business. The micro business, you can have the one business, you can have up to, I think, 500 square feet of cultivating, so
5,000.
growing, 5,000, sorry. And he's in charge of that part.
Okay,
And so we could grow it, but in the location, like he said, we are not going to be
yeah,
growing there.
it's
just-
too small of a location and
Just
too close to
retail.
residential.
Exactly.
How many square foot is that?
It's just 1,000 square
Just
feet.
1,000 even? Okay.
Yeah, just enough room for literally just this retail store.
Yep.
Does the state have requirements on how the public accesses that building?
On, I guess, on how they get in. or-
Yeah, like, okay, they park and they go through the main doors, or like a waiting area and then another door you
Yep.
have to go through?
Yep, they'll come in and there'll be a waiting area, and then they'll have to give the ID to our security guard.
Sure.
And then once they approve that they are 21 plus, then they can be buzzed in through the door, which has to be unlocked by the security guard. So,
Okay, yeah, so for the size of that building, you would not be able to do more than just retail,
yeah,
obviously.
definitely not.
Okay.
Yep.
And have you looked into the banking aspect of it? Because we had talked about a municipal, and there was a lot of hoops with the banking and how you get the cash or the credit or however that works. Have you looked into that? I know
Yep,
there's a
we're still
lot of laws
talking-
on that.
Still talking to a couple of
Okay.
banks, still, my other friend who is doing the one in Zimmerman, he's already found one too, and I think we're gonna go with their bank. So
Okay.
we should be good on
Okay.
that aspect.
I mean, I'd like us to revisit for future grow operations that they stay more in industrial. I didn't realize that they could be actually put on Main Street, because that could be definitely burdensome to residents that are within a certain amount of, within the area. Unless they had, really high-tech filters and everything going in and out, but even then, I think we should, I didn't realize when we wrote up ordinance that they could actually, I thought we were talking about limiting it more to the industrial area for growing
I
if it
think
was
for the
indoor.
cultivation it is. If you're talking about
Yes.
cultivation of cannabis.
Yes.
That is only permitted in the industrial. They're not suggesting that they're going to grow in that store.
Right, I agree and I understand that, but his license gives him the opportunity to do that and I didn't realize.
But city ordinance would
Isn't it?
disallow that.
Doesn't
Correct,
it?
but our zoning does not
Exactly.
permit it.
Oh, okay, so it isn't permitted under ordinance.
It's not permitted in our ordinance to grow
Okay.
within.
So
Even if I
Right,
wanted
yeah.
to, I
The
That's,
central business
that's what I
district.
wanted to clarify, and if we didn't have that clarified in ordinance, I wanted to take another look at that. Okay,
Otherwise, we would have definitely chosen a different location if we were gonna grow too, because we need
right,
somewhere bigger.
I would think so. Well, I wasn't concerned about you, that's why I asked the questions. I was
definitely.
more concerned about maybe another license in the future.
Yo, okay.
Any other questions from council members?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion on the floor to approve. Is there a second?
They're all within ordinance. I mean, our hands are tied. We have to approve it. I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Holmgren, second from Councilmember Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye, and I'm opposed just because of what the state did to the municipality. It's not fair to the taxpayers. So I believe that was a 4-1 pass.
However, if I may state, Mayor, if you are opposed, to state the reason, and the reason should be that the basis for denial is that they don't meet our ordinance
Then I'll abstain.
regulations.
I'll abstain then. Can I abstain from that?
I'll let you state the reason that you're abstaining, and
Okay, I'm abstaining because I don't think the taxpayer should have to face the brunt of the police work and the city staff time involved with it. And that was a flop on the state, not on you guys by any means. So, motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention on that. Thank you guys for coming in, and I'm happy you guys are in town. You seem like great people, so
Thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. We are excited to work with the city, definitely.
Awesome. And I'm happy another Main Street business is getting filled up, so that's great.
Right? Yep, get it busy.
All right, we'll move on to K3, resolution to consider replacing Ford 545D tractor in the capital improvement plan.
Mayor and Council, I would like to introduce that we do have our foreman here, who's Josh Becker, and he's going to be carrying this item, so we'll let him take it away.
Welcome, Josh.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The Ford 545D, which was in good working order and had no problems when it was scheduled to be replaced in 2021. A couple weeks ago, we had a PTO shaft that had failed. We called Timmer Equipment because they sell New Holland Ford tractors, and they could get almost all the parts but the one PTO shaft gear that goes on the end of it, and that part is discontinued. We also did some other looking at, we called Larson's Implement, and there was some boneyards and stuff, but nothing came up where we could get the part we needed. So we did find a guy that will machine it out and put a bushing in it, and then the new needle bearing will go in it with no guarantee on how long it'll last. And the shimming wise, if it'll, work perfect. So with that being said, that tractor is our only piece of equipment that runs our progressive mower, which mows constantly, almost all week long. It also runs our back blade, our gopher poisoner, our brush cutter, fertilizer spreader, disc, and that's all the pieces of equipment that I think it runs. So staff is recommending placing the Ford 545D John Deere with the John Deere 5075E cab utility tractor in the amount of $65,481.86, which is a Sourcewell state bid.
Thank you, Ms. Ricker, and I'd like to add to that. So we did pass out some information prior to the meeting, which is the quote that Mr. Becker is talking about, as well as 2 quotes that Councilmember Peterson had asked to have passed out, so I'll let Councilmember, speak on those. I do want to mention, as he did, that this was in the capital improvement plan for 2021, as he stated. It got pushed out 2 times and then was in for the 2027 capital improvement plan, so this would be an amendment to pull it forward. As we've discussed many times with our finance director Becker, that the capital improvement plan is meant to ebb and flow as the needs of the cities change. So if we don't need it, we push it out, push it out, push it out, and then when we do need it, if we had pushed out too far, we can pull it back forward. So I just wanted to make note of that. Thank you.
So the initial quote I see on that I got yesterday showed just the tractor for 654186 as he had just read off. So I went and got a quote from Midwest Machine, and for that same tractor was $8,000 cheaper. But then the one I just got printed off from Minnesota Equipment shows it's now $11,000 cheaper than what we received previously. So I don't understand why there's two different bids from Minnesota Equipment.
Because it has a loader and turf tires on the original bid for the 65,481.
Okay.
The tractor itself is the 11,000 less.
Okay.
So I just had a question about the repairs on that. You said you'd look for parts. I know that there's a lot of dealerships that will stop carrying parts intentionally for older machines, but they're still being produced by aftermarket. It's very true with like old Bobcat machines, and I assume this tractor too. Did you happen to look anywhere else for that part, or is it a super specialized part that usually never fails type of thing?
Yeah, it's kind of that part.
Okay.
That tractor was made kind of for cities and counties, but I did track BrokenTractor.com, all those websites. I could not find the gear that we need.
Okay. And that's technically made by New Holland, correct? The Fords of the late 90s?
Yeah.
Okay.
We get all our parts from New Holland Timber.
Okay.
Which tractor do you want? I have a bunch of different ones in front of me. Which is the one you'd like most?
The bid quote that I gave you was the John Deere
Okay.
575E. The reason why I think we got more bids is because he found some cheaper, but actually our 2025 tractor is cheaper than this 2024 tractor quote.
Sure.
By $1,000, I think.
What?
Because we're Sourcewell members, so it's a Sourcewell state bid, and his quote has just state bid. So the Sourcewell is better than state bid.
What kind of warranty are you looking at?
It has a 4-year warranty.
Bumper to bumper with replacement labor?
I believe so, and then the John Deere in town said if we had any issues, they would give us a tractor to use. They also let us demo a tractor for a week.
Did we do that already by chance?
Yes, so now I would have to rent a tractor, and we need to mow, because we used it last week, and we mow every week with it, so we're gonna be a week without mowing with it. And I got a couple quotes on rentals.
Does the tractor, the 545D, doesn't work?
No.
Oh.
I ordered the parts to repair it, but we don't know even when we'll get it back from the guy who's machined it. He's at minimum a month out.
What price are you looking at on that shaft? What was the price for the repair?
I ordered every part I could from Timmer. That was like $1,000, and I think it was another $1,500 to have it machined.
Okay. So I have a quick question. So instead of putting that tractor up to auction, if you get a new tractor, would it make sense to keep that and use it until the day it dies, and maybe put two guys on a mower and get things done quicker, and then free up guys to do something else during the week?
We already have all our mowers going most all day long.
Okay.
Would there be any benefit to having the two?
The two tractors?
Yeah, keeping the 545D once you fix it.
Yeah, I just can't guarantee how long it will
Right.
last.
Right. But it does mow the biggest path.
Yeah, 16-foot cut.
Okay, yeah, I would like to see it keep it until the day it dies than to put it up for auction and hardly get anything for it anyway, because I think you'd have more use. It'd be more practical.
Run into like a hydraulic unit or the engine go really big
Right,
dollar
but,
type, but.
But in the meantime, I would still, I personally think you need a new tractor. And I like the 2025 model, and I would make a motion to purchase.
What was the
That's
cost?
from
of-
Minnesota Equipment?
Yeah,
Minnesota Equipment? I'll second that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Lundin, motion by Councilmember Heeman, second by Councilmember Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
If I could, Mayor, could we make a clarification? So in the proposed, I know the quote that was in the packet that was with the resolution is 20 cents different. So I think that's just a rounding error because it's separating out the tractor from the attachment. But the other thing that's stated in there is that we will send the 1998 tractor to auction. Can we just have the motion and the vote reflect that we will continue to keep that until it's unrepairable?
Yes.
Yes. You good with that,
Yes.
George?
I'd make a motion to do the repairs on the old tractor and keep it, and to get the accessories you want on the new tractor, which was the turf tires, loader. Was there something else?
That's it.
Want to throw anything else in?
No.
I'll still second that motion.
All right, motion from Councilmember Heeman, second from Councilmember Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Well, good job extending the life of that, 4 or 5 years, and hopefully we can still use it forever, or for quite a while. Those older machines, I will say, are built substantially better and longer lasting than these new ones. Just the craftsmanship in the 90s was so much better, so I think it'll last quite a while. I bet you it'll outlast the new one still, but we'll see.
Ford tractors have zero
Yeah,
resale.
Right. All right, so we will go on to K4, resolution to consider approval of special event permit for the Isani Firefighters Rodeo Association Annual Rodeo 2025.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Isani Firefighter Rodeo Association has submitted a special event application to host their 49th annual rodeo. The event is scheduled to take place July 10th to 13th at the rodeo grounds. They are expecting 11,000 people to attend. They have included a parking impact plan and a temporary signage plan. Additional restrooms will be added in primary parking areas. Security will be provided by Security Specialist, Inc. EMS services will be provided by Isani Fire District and Alina Health. They are requesting for the following to be waived from the application: cleanup deposit fee of $100, temporary sign fee of $50, proof of written notification to properties within 350 feet of the event. They are requesting that the Unity Park baseball field lights to stay on Friday and Saturday night of the rodeo performances for safety and security reasons, preferably sunset to sunrise. Police chief has given approval of the event with following conditions. There must be an emergency vehicle egress to within 150 feet of all buildings with a minimum width of 20 feet and a minimum height of 3 feet 6 inches. 2 parking spots will be available directly next to the west and east entrances for police and Alina EMS vehicles. Police department will respond to verify individual LEOS credentials. The applicant is here for questions.
I'll just mention that the waivers they requested were things we've waived every year prior.
Right.
So that's not new.
Absolutely. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Councilmember Lundin, second by Councilmember Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I would just like to make comment that this event has been so well received over the years, and it's a great benefit to the community and for the fire department, and they do a great job putting it on every year, and I appreciate all the volunteers that help out with it.
Sounds good. Resolution to consider approval of special event permit for North 65 Chamber of Commerce Jubilee Days 2025.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, North 65 Chamber of Commerce has submitted a special event application for their annual Jubilee Days event. A parade is scheduled to take place in the afternoon on Thursday, July 10th, and Kids Day is scheduled for Saturday, July 12th, from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. An estimated 10,000 people will be in attendance for the parade and 3,000 for Kids Day. Portable restrooms are required for the event, and a list of restroom locations have been provided. Parking during the event will be restricted as follows: no parking along the parade route and lineup area on July 10th, or on Main Street from 2nd Avenue to west of the railroad tracks, and 1st Avenue north of Main Street to City Hall parking lot entrance, Isani City Hall parking lot, and Isani Community Center parking lot from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. on July 12th. Assistance and equipment has been requested from the City of Isani for road closures, traffic control, utility, locates, and signage. The applicant has also asked for a fee waiver on the temporary sign application and rental of the Isani Community Center on Saturday, July 12th. The applicant is here for any questions.
So this has been a great parade. Pretty much every year of my life I've seen it, and I found there's actually a few people that I've talked to that don't know there's a parade in Isani. So if anybody has any questions about the parade, the times, where to go, how it all works, feel free to reach out to me or Melissa at the chamber. She's great at answering all the questions. It's a good event, so I will motion to approve the special
Second.
event permit. Motion by myself, second by Councilmember Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. I'm looking forward to that. So, resolution to consider approving Illuminate Isani and Illuminate Isani volunteer agreement for 2025.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is the Illuminate Isani agreement. I know after discussions with Isani together, this is the day we have to make a decision. If you don't make a decision tonight, they're not going to be able to move forward. They just need to know if they're going to be able to do that and start fundraising and get everything together. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
I have a few questions, but I'll let you gentlemen go first, if you have any.
All I gotta say is there was some corrections that we had brought up at the last meeting. Was those all done?
There was one that was missed. I'll just go through. I have a few things. I appreciate that you guys found a spot to meet, Bluebird Park or Isani City Hall. I think that'll work pretty swell. So I appreciate you guys doing that. I had a question on number 3, letter I, number 1. It says City of Isani Parks and Recreation Coordinator and Isani together will be responsible for securing additional funding for the event. The City of Isani Parks and Recreation Coordinator, what would that entail, and why is that one in there? Because I thought the volunteer group was handling all the donations and sponsorships. Is there a reason that our Park and Rec coordinator would have to be involved in that?
Yes, because it's technically going to be money coming back to the
Okay.
city, and so we're gonna have to work together to apply for those applications. It's gonna be our names on those applications.
Would that be a big time burden?
If we have people helping with fundraising, I don't think it'll be less than it has been, definitely.
Okay, so we would be administering the paperwork more so than
Yes.
fundraising. Okay, all right, that's great. And then if you look at number 4, letter II, number 2, ensuring each volunteer has submitted a waiver of liability prior to the working on site. Has our attorney looked at that, and is that wording adequate for protection for the city if someone gets hurt?
We will ensure that the attorney looks at it. We haven't created that waiver of
Okay.
liability yet, so once we do, we'll have the attorney approve it before we move forward.
Okay. And then on that same page, B, number 1, letter H, purchasing advertisement placements. Can you explain what that means exactly? For the city or the Parks and Recreation Coordinator to be purchasing advertisement placements?
We'll want to make sure we're approving all of the advertisement placements and what's being advertised, since it is officially a city event.
Okay, so we will be just purchasing those
Any purchasing will have to be done through the city, since we'll be the one managing the money. They won't have authority to spend
Okay.
our money.
Sounds good. And then you look at number 5. Number 5, letter III. The Parks and Recreation Coordinator or designee of the city will check in at 4 p.m. on a weekday event evenings to make sure there are no major infrastructure issues prior to the event starting. I know city staff is usually off at 4:30. Is checking in at 4 p.m. going to be early enough to allow for if there is an issue?
I think it's a good time. Usually we'd go out there about 3:30 to 4, and so it just gives us enough time to know if there's a major issue happening. Usually we know the day before.
Okay.
But it just in case when the lights turn on, oops, something blew, like, we should know.
Okay. And then on the last page, we had mentioned in the last meeting that there was a typo on the Isanti Together volunteers. There's an I on the end of Isanti there. So just get that off there. And I think it's a good contract, and I appreciate that you guys have put in so much work, city staff and the committee. I'm really excited for the event this year. We obviously have to make sure it's done right, and I think you guys are doing a great job, so. Any other questions?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Lundin, second by Councilmember Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries 4-1. Thank you, guys, and I'm excited for the event this year. I think it's going to be great, and I hope you guys have the best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, K7, resolution to consider entering into an agreement for banking services.
Mayor and council, we have had, we do need to appoint and designate an official bank that the city works with, as well as a depository service institution. And we had gone out for an RFP for banking and depository services on April 15th. We had great response, which is really exciting to see, that we had 5 institutions that submitted proposals. They are Falcon National Bank, Members Cooperative Credit Union, Security Bank and Trust Company, Bremer Bank, and Platinum Bank. And I want to thank them all for taking the time to not only submit their proposal, but also to go through a pretty thorough vetting process with myself. And I had a lot of questions, and I met with all of them and really appreciated their time. I do want to point out that we had 2 top institutions that really rose to the top that were going to meet the needs of the city. And those 2 institutions are Falcon National Bank and Security Bank and Trust Company. As was noted in the memo in the packet, there was a pretty thorough process for criteria to vet them through. And they included things such as the health and stability of their institution, the banking services that they provide against what we currently use for banking services, but also the opportunity to expand banking services to fit the needs of the city going forward 3 more years and into the future. The process that they have for return checks, fees associated with such work, online wire transfers, the process for that, and fees again. ACH for payroll, electronic funds for all the services that we use through those, as well as the collateral that they have. There are state statute requirements for collateral that they must meet. Monthly reports that we can pull as we do all of our bank reconciliation, making sure that we can export those into either CSV, which is preferred, or Excel spreadsheets, so we can do our processes faster. Providing deposit slips, safe deposit box, internal transfers and limits that are available, vault services. Being a local bank, we do currently go to the bank every day for deposits. We may be changing that process, but we did find it very critical that it was important that we have an institution that's close, that when we do need to go there, we also do wire transfers, a lot of times in person, and making sure that we're not driving a half hour, an hour to the bank to do these transactions was really important and a time saver. Credit card payment acceptance and issuance, looking at their customer service approach, availability, what their hours are, overall their pricing and fee structure, how they structure the checking account versus their savings account, and then also for sure the interest. As we have our accounts, we have a savings account, a checking account, as well as another account that we use, and what is the interest that we're going to get on those. The 2 banks do it differently. So currently with Falcon, that is our current banking institution that we use. The checking account, the savings account, and then we have an IntraFi money market account. We receive the same interest on all those, and in their proposals that we keep the same interest on all those. Why that is important is because if we didn't, we'd have to have a sweep, and a sweep then moves the money back and forth to make sure that you're capturing the most amount of interest on your funds. Security Bank and Trust has a higher interest rate, and their interest rate does not go onto their checking. So if we did utilize that bank, we would have to implement a sweeps to make sure that we are not leaving too much money in that account, enough money that we don't overdraft when we're paying our AP and our payroll, but not too much that we're losing interest on those. The interest with Security Bank and Trust is at 4.25% with a floor of 0.25%. And they calculate theirs based off of a private wealth money market account. And Falcon is 3.7 with a floor of 0.25%. And they base theirs off the effective federal rate. One of the things that I took into account was changing banks does cost a lot of time and resources of staff. So while we would have a less interest rate that we get with Falcon, we do need to take into consideration the moving and switching over our accounts as well as our checks and things like that too. So I leave the floor up for discussion at this point and to answer any questions that you have.
So I'd first like to say fantastic job, Ms. Wood. I think usually we only have one or two return quotes. That's awesome to see those. I read through every proposal and, each had pros and cons. These two definitely were the standouts of the two. Now, obviously, Security Bank and Trust has a better interest rate, and I think we can use that to maybe sway Falcon next year to maybe give a little bit more competitive interest rate to us. But with the turnover and hiring a new finance director starting July 1st and you having to train him in, I don't think that it will be fiscally responsible to change banking services this year personally. But I think next year we can hope for a higher interest rate from Falcon National because half percent interest on millions of dollars, that's a pretty big difference in yield. So, but at this time, I think it's probably smarter to go with Falcon personally.
And just for clarification, this would be for a 3-year contract,
Oh, it is a
not a
3-year.
1 year. So it is a 3-year.
So what we approved the last time was the 1 year.
What we approved last year was a 1-year extension,
Oh,
which we
okay.
do have the ability to do. We ended up having another 2-month extension on top of that, but it was a 1-year extension to a 3-year contract.
Okay.
Historically, going back all the way to 2009, I think it was, I have to look again, we've done a 3-year contract since that time.
What's entailed in setting up a sweep? Is that's something that the finance director would have to manage? Or is there a program that manages that for you, or does the bank manage that?
You can set it up with the bank. There's a $25 fee per sweeps setup charge, from what I understand. We've never done that, or needed to, as I had mentioned earlier. But the finance director will be able to set that up with the bank, and it would happen if you wanted your sweep to happen daily, weekly, monthly, however you set it up, you're able to do so.
I still think we should stick with Falcon. I mean, plain and simple. It isn't just staff time. It's gonna cost us money in a lot of things to switch in banks.
I would be okay with a 1-year extension. I would like our new finance manager to look at this and decide what he wants to do after he gets settled in, and maybe he has different thoughts.
I would like to share on behalf of him, he's not here, but I did reach out to him. I did ask him to review the proposals. I sent him the top 3. And he did look at them, and his recommendation was to do whatever the city council is comfortable with, but he was in agreement that when you switch institutions, it does take a lot of time, and that does come at a cost as well. And he did feel that if the city felt it in the best interest to stay with Falcon, that he was confident that we would be able to look at all of our investments and potentially do some movement there and make more interest on those investments that the city has.
I would just like to say that 0.5% interest on $10 million, that's $50,000 a year.
Oh, we
So
need to be
for a 3-year deal, that's
sweeping.
$150,000 extra that we don't have to tax.
I had no idea we weren't doing sweeps, and they definitely need to be done as long as there's really good oversight on it. I'm 100% for that. Just in my personal finances, and it's not much at all, I'm sweeping money all the time to get the best interest rate or yeah. So,
We haven't had a need to have the sweeps because we get the same interest on any account we have with Falcon, that's why.
Right.
And we've been with Falcon, actually, it was a different bank prior to Falcon that had the same thing.
With just Would we be able to keep the terms they offered us for just a one-year extension?
I would not be able to answer that. I'd have to ask the bank.
I would think they would. I mean, these companies are fighting for our money. They can reinvest that money into mortgages, and they make money hand over fist off this money that we save for, or have for them to use.
I just would like to
And I
do
would
it
have to
1 year.
also double check with the legal team. I'm not 100% on that, just because I haven't looked it up. I know we are able to extend a year, 100%, but we've done that, so I need to ask if we are able to extend again, just to make sure that I was doing this 100% correct.
I would like to just make a motion to extend for another year.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Heeman, second from Councilmember Peterson. All in favor of extending for a year, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. I just think we need to keep moving forward. You keep extending, keep extending, keep extending. You're hurting yourself in the long run. But that's my personal opinion, so. And that's why I voted against it.
Jeffrey, for it, okay. Motion carries 4-1. Do you need a what-if scenario?
So I will bring it back. I will find out
Okay.
more information. I know that if we are able to extend it for the year, it has to come back anyways, because council has to extend it. At that, approximately then in 8 months, we would have to issue an RFP again and go through the process again. But I will bring it back regardless at the next one. Either I will let you know that we cannot, and we need to make a decision on these proposals, or we can, and here's the resolution stating that it's an extension. So either way, it will come back.
Okay, if we have time to think about it and we decide, hey, let's just do the 3-year, that would still be on the table in that 2-week meeting?
These proposals are still valid.
Okay.
Until we make a decision to make a formal action. So I think, I guess having thought about it for 5 more seconds here, I think that your motion would be more appropriate if it included, if able to extend, because if we extend it, then these are no longer on the table and we find out we can't extend it. So perhaps we just make a motion to postpone this to the next council meeting.
Or that?
And then I will make sure I have the information.
Okay. Would you like to rescind your motion? Or just keep?
Repeat that motion?
So my concern would be if we go with the motion that was made, which is to extend the current agreement with Falcon and it not be allowable. I have now declined these proposals and we would have to start over again right now.
Okay.
My recommendation would be perhaps we want to rescind that motion, which takes a motion for a second and a vote, and to revise it, to either postpone the decision to the next meeting, and I will get the answer whether we can extend it or not. I'll talk to the bank and I'll talk to the attorney. Or to at least at a minimum, have the motion to state that we would, if able, to extend. One of those two options would be, I think, in the best interest of the
I
city.
make a motion to rescind the motion.
Motion to rescind
Second.
from Councilmember Lundin, second from Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor of rescinding the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to rescind carries 5-0.
I make a motion, we table this until the next meeting.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Lundin, second by myself to table until the next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0 to table to the next meeting.
Thank you.
I was not expecting that question. Good question, though. We will move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Lundin, second by Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Any other questions on the other communications? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Councilmember Lundin, second by Councilmember Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned, and we will pick up Committee of the Whole in,
We are?
let's just say 5 minutes.